Do you know what Alireza Firouzja's rating is? Do you know what guest elo is? What happens if you combine both ideas in one video? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Alireza Firouzja is one of the top players in the world. Guess the elo is a really fun type of video where you guess the ratings of both players. The cool thing is, I'm going to go through many games in this video, but it is only at the end of each game where you get to see the ratings for both players. Now, in each game, Alireza will be playing. However, you will not know what the opponent's rating is and their name until the end of each game. I hope this video is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you learn a lot. First up, Alireza has white against, well, we'll just have to wait and see. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5. We have the Spanish opening. Kick the bishop, it drops back, knight hits the center, white castles, bishop out, d3, b5, drop it back, and d6, typical Spanish position. c3, very useful move to control the center, as well as giving the bishop a retreating square. Rook to the center, knight, typical move, to the edge, hit the bishop, it drops back, and now c5. In these kind of closed Spanish positions, black controls the d4 square, and white controls d5 and f5, the light squares. Knight d2, beginning the classic journey with the knight in the Spanish, because it plans to actually go to the king side, so then you have two knights in front of your king. h3 is a useful move, stopping the bishop coming out. Now, in this position, black actually gets the pawns rolling on the queen side with a5. With this move, it actually softens up this pawn. When you look at this structure, it looks very impressive. Yes and no. Firouzja attacks it with a typical move in the Spanish. You flick in a4 because this rook now has a chance to come in the game. b4. His opponent pushes, but it gives the knight the c4 square. Notice a few moves ago, I was talking about the classic plan of moving the knight in front of the king, but things change. The pawn structure has changed. Knight to c4. Bishop e6 attacking the knight. Are you planning to take it? Well, Firouzja puts a question to the bishop, and black obliges with the capture. Take, take. It does give white doubled c-pawns. Knight d7, you attack the knight, it drops back. Queen out, and now queen e2. Knight d8. Knight h2, typical move in the Spanish. Really cool move actually, because the point of this retreat is then in the future it can come to g4 to control some dark squares. Now, why did black play knight d8? It's to come to e6. Black is coming to f4, so Firouzja stops it with g3. Take, take. These double c-pawns are strength, controlling a lot of central squares. Firouzja has a wonderful central control. Bishop g5, offering a trade. Firouzja really wants to win. In order to increase your winning chances, you keep the pieces on. Bishop a3. At the moment, this bishop is just staring at nothing. Staring at granite. But the point of this move is to just stop a trade. Rook ba, get the file. h4. Kicking the bishop away, it drops back. By the way, you can't go here because of the move Firouzja planned 3 moves ago. Now the knight can actually come to g4 to attack the bishop, and you're going to pick it up. Bishop retreats, knight still comes in. Rook b7, planning to double. But the funny thing is, there are no good entry squares. Knight e3, beautiful, beautiful rerouting in order to come into the center. And the key difference between this knight and that knight is that this has a central outpost, but this one doesn't. Turns out the double c-pawns here are a strength. Rook b8, knight in, drop the queen back, and bishop back to c1. Now you can come back because no trade is possible. Knight b6, bishop e3. It looks like the bishop has just come there in one move. Take, take. When this capture happens, even though black has got rid of the dangerous knight in the center, now light squares options are now open for white. It does attack the knight. This bishop can come in the game soon. Knight drops back and bishop d3. It's got a new home on b5, supported. Even c6 if it can even get there. Rook b2, you attack the queen, big deal. Queen moves out of the way. Queen c8 coming in. Yes. Bishop b5, cutting off the coordination between the rooks, and this is a wonderful move, as we're going to see very soon. What is Firouzja planning to do in this type of position? Queen h3. With this move, it has a threat. Bishop takes pawn. Then there's a pin along the third. Bishop back to c1, hit the rook. It hits this pawn, and Firouzja actually plays rook e3. This is a really good move. Not only does it defend the pawn, it defends the queen, so you don't have this anymore. So rook e3 is a double purpose move. Rook e3, bishop drops back, queen e2. No queen trade, no need, because the queen is going somewhere else. And the rook is trapped. You remember 5 moves ago, I mentioned putting a bishop there means there's no coordination between the two rooks. His opponent takes the bishop, take. White is now completely winning. Queen e2 offering a trade. A trade happened. Take, take. You should keep the queens on, but this is no good anyway. Beautiful structure. You are winning. That pawn is going to drop. 1, 2. Swing the rook over as well. White is crashing through. A trade happened. Take, take. Now that pawn drops, but Firouzja has a really good move, forcing the trade of rooks. Swing the rook over to b2, defended by the bishop, which looks like it hasn't moved, but it has. It moved to a3 and it came back. Rook b2, forcing a trade, take, take. Now how do we win this? Well, let's get our pawn center. Now the whole point of this move is not to defend, no, it's to put the bishop here. Now you're attacking this pawn. King f8, king f1. He doesn't even take it. The reason Firouzja didn't take it, I think it's because of this. Take, take, and now knight here. And you actually pick up that pawn. And defends it. You don't actually need that. And just to prove I'm not talking nonsense, I just want to check this point. If we turn on the engine, I bet it says white is totally winning. Let's have a look, just to double check. Yeah, white is totally winning here. And king here. Yeah, if we take it, just want to double check. Take. Bishop comes off. Take, take. And now knight b6. Fine. And white is still winning. Fine. Because rook here, we have this. And if that knight ever moves, that drops. King can come here and the game goes on. White is totally winning. But Firouzja just chose to wait a little bit. Let's turn it off. King f1. King e2. And knight b6. And king d3. King in time to defend that pawn. Just to explain why this didn't happen, here, why didn't the guy go knight b6? It's because take. Now you can't take it, as the bishop drops. That's why the guy actually marched his king over first. Just to make sure the king defends the bishop, but when black moves the king over, white also has time to move the king to the center. And when that happens, you're just in time to defend your c4 pawn. And this drops anyway. Firouzja is totally winning. Bishop a5, good move, because removing the defender and taking. Knight d5, getting a pawn for it, take, take. Rook for bishop, this is totally winning. Let's see how Firouzja finishes it off. Defend along the second. Okay, king comes in, right. Now, getting some counterplay, but the good thing is, for white, this is not a good distraction because he just comes back. Hit the bishop. King comes back, double attack. Bishop moves, and now we take it. It is 5 against 5. Rook for bishop, game over. Defend the center. Now time to march the king in. His opponent tries to be aggressive, but after this, now there's a nice tactical move. e5, check. Can't take because the bishop drops. When the king moves, you can even play e6, just run it home. But I like Firouzja's move, king c6, because then you actually threaten to take with double check, which is a pretty cool move from both pieces. After king c6, his opponent resigned. So, have your guesses ready. I'm going to give you a clue. Firouzja here is actually the lower rated opponent. This game was played in 2014. Firouzja was born in 2003, so that means when this game took place, Firouzja was 11 years old. This was a rapid game. Firouzja is rated 300 points lower than his opponent, so have your guesses ready. Rating will be revealed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Firouzja was rated 2085 at the age of 11, and his opponent Mahmoud Lodi rated 2328. When you look at this game, it didn't even seem like Firouzja was the lower rated opponent. It actually seemed like he outclassed his opponent today. Knights out. Get the center and c6. Very solid way to play. Defend your center. Bishop outside the pawn chain. When this happens, you get your bishop out first and then you play your pawn up, which is exactly what Firouzja does. Notice white is doing the same as well. It's a very healthy way to play where you just make sure all your pawns defend each other. Knight h4. Early knight to the edge. Normally this move is frowned upon. Why are you putting your knight on the edge? That's because white is going bishop grabbing. The bishop doesn't actually have a good square. It gets kicked away, it gets kicked away. And now, white wins the bishop. Take, take. Bishop out. Notice a lot of pawns on light squares, restricting the bishop. Look out for this strategy in your own games. Bishop out. Knight d2, knight d7. Nice way to play when the knights defend each other. a3, getting space. a5, stopping white getting space. Queen c2, queen e7, and now e3. So both sides are waiting, playing useful moves. 1, 2, bishop out here, queen here. White is waiting, so is black, playing useful moves. It is only when black castles, then white is going to castle. By the way, you can't castle this way. Castle here, because that pawn drops. So white is just waiting a little bit. Castle, castle. Now e5. Looks like Firouzja is trying to crash through the center. His opponent stops that, but with a move like e4, which is a very committal move, there are lots of dark squares which are just too weak around the king. Take, take. Now rook d8. These squares belong to black. That's why the previous move was so bad, because it actually, now you look at this bishop, it's just a giant pawn. Rook d1, knight h7. Finding a way in here. No, it's actually coming back. Coming to e6, and now we're eyeing the dark squares. Knight back, knight e6, and now defend the center. Looks like white is trying to get some counterplay. Now, the queen here, or maybe not here. Take, take. And just, there's just too much control on the dark squares. This is a very nice game from Firouzja. White actually tries to get counterplay now with b4. Take. Does look like he loses pawn. Take, take. And take. Queen b3. Maybe this is the opponent. I mean, maybe this is the move his opponent missed. It looks like you got to move the bishop because it's attacked, and then that pawn drops. Maybe white is getting in some play. No. Counter-attack, knight c5. If you take, now it drops back, and it's defended. So no. Queen takes, and now you take with rook. Can't take with the knight because your queen is hanging. So now, Firouzja's rook is right in the center. And it's a very interesting middle game because it's two knights against two bishops. Not only that, the important thing is, well, one factor is that black is up a pawn. But you know what? The more important factor is this position is very closed, which suits the two knights, which are literally just going to hop in to the position. These two bishops are totally restricted. Well, firstly, that one is restricted by its own pawn, and this one is restricted by its, well, our pawn. Firouzja's central pawn. Okay, free, offering a trade. But you trade on my terms. Bishop here. Maybe the king can come forward. And he plays that capture, which is kind of an amazing move. There's X-ray defense from the rook. Firouzja now sacrifices rook for bishop. Why? Because now check. The king has to come up to defend the rook. And now knight in. And there are too many threats. This knight can come in as well. This rook is actually very clumsy. Queen here, knight 4, check. Take. You cannot, I mean, there's no good square here. That's mate. Nice checkmate with the pawn there. The knights are stronger than the rook. Gives it up. check, king h2, and now queen e2, king g3. There's actually checkmate here in 3 moves. In the game, you can just take your pawn, and then the knight and queen, I mean, they just work so well. But there is actually checkmate here in 3 moves. Pause the video now if you want to have a go. I'll give you guys 5 seconds. Can you find the first move where you just find a way to surround the king? 5 seconds. First move is queen f1. The point is to come into the g2 square, but also you're threatening queen takes h3 mate, and you can't stop it. That's mate. If you go f3, then check. Oh, check. Force the king out, and then we had this pawn mate earlier. Knight and queen work so well together. Queen takes e4. Now queen f3. So that's the difference. There is no check, but totally winning. Let's see how he finishes off. Check. Offering a trade, very professional. You are totally winning. Take, take. And it is 3 pawns versus 6. So Firouzja's just 3 pawns up. 3 pawns up. Let's see the rest. Get the king in, protect the knight. Let's just get up past pawns pushing. Just move him. Check, king in, and attack the bishop. Game over. Bishop has to move anywhere, and then forward. Game over. So have your guesses ready. Ratings will be revealed in 5, 4. Actually, no, hold on. Before I reveal the ratings, I'm going to give a clue. Firouzja is the higher rated player. He's higher rated by 400. About 400 points. So rating will be revealed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Firouzja's rating 2332, and his opponent Hassan Abtini rated 1987. We can see in this game the difference in class. Next game I want to show you, this is going to be an even bigger rating gap, showing the class between Firouzja and his opponent. So Alireza has white here. We get the Italian. Hit the center, you defend it, bishop out, castle, get central control just like we saw, very similar to the first game. Bishop tucks back, you attack it, and it drops back again. c5. You tend to see this kind of move. Black is controlling a central dark square. White now expands, and now the knight comes back. But what's the problem now? You actually get hit with d5. Now, his opponent chooses to go back already. White is better, because white's got more space. h3. Knight out. Knight d2 and rook e1, and here we go. Classic plan where a couple of knights in front of each other's kings, which you tend to get in the Italian. Knight comes into f4. Now you can get rid of that dangerous looking knight, but it does surrender the bishop. If this happens, I mean, if this trade happens, where's that knight going? I don't really want to go back. I don't really want to go forward because we get this trade as well. Notice in this game, Firouzja is much higher rated than his opponent, and you don't really want to trade too many pieces. When you're playing someone, you really have to beat. So after knight in, knight h2, typical move. Is the knight coming to g4 just like we saw in the first game? Well, there is another idea. His opponent gets space, fair enough, queen f3. Now the knight can come back, and then I was expecting something like this. Take, take. It turns out that knight can go to f5, and an attack is starting. But his opponent actually retreated the knight, and the funny thing is, he didn't even take it yet. Knight f5 first, because he can take it next. By the way, this backward knight move is not the best, because this bishop no longer controls f5. This allows Firouzja to come in, and his opponent blundered. That pawn drops, the rook moves, and then the knight comes in. Better was to drop it back, but then after this, Firouzja's going to be up a pawn anyway. Bishop here, take, and now knight comes in. Knight drops back, and then take. So a very long journey from the knight, and Firouzja has grabbed 2 pawns. Queen attacks the knight, but drops back. Bishop out. That's a very strong bishop. Firouzja is 2 pawns up. Time to trade it. offer a trade with bishop d3. His opponent says no. Now knight c4. Very long journey from the knight, basically traveling the whole board. He attacks knight. He attacks the queen, I mean, and defends his pawn. So then this bishop can move. Queen drops back. Get rid of that bishop and pin the knight. h6. Firouzja is totally winning. It makes perfect sense to trade. Take, 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 take. Now the knight just comes back into its perfect square. It's time to clean up. Just time to trade into a totally winning endgame. Rook a b8, take, take. Rook b1 and b3. Knight 4. Park the bishop on c4. Time to kick that knight away later. Rook to the center and g3. Firouzja's position is that good that he can actually give a pawn back, because with this move g3, that pawn drops. So why has Firouzja done this? It's because he's seen 3 moves ahead, and that knight actually goes to a terrible square. You are being kicked away. That knight now has to go to the tragic looking h7 square. Not only that, white is building up a different type of advantage, because now rook h1, you attack this pawn, it's going to drop. The king goes there, but then rook h5. Maybe Firouzja has seen 5 moves ahead. All these moves were forcing after the knight took the pawn. Kick the knight, f4, rooks come round, and now rook on h5 attacks the e5 pawn. Very forcing play. Take, take. I don't think, well, I mean, if you defend it, that pawn drops anyway. Just too much pressure, and that knight is tragic. Take, take. a4 doesn't do anything. The king goes to f3, and his opponent resigned. If a capture happens, this rook is still going to check the king. And the point is, after this check, let's say black just passes, check, you take, and then we can now see the tragedy on h7. That knight is actually trapped. Have your guesses ready. The clue is Firouzja is much higher rated than his opponent by, oh my gosh, by 1,000 points actually, showing the difference in class in this game. So I'll give you guys 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Firouzja is rated 2332. This game took place in the same year as the previous game, and his opponent's rating 1389. Just totally different class. New idea. We have watched the 3 games. Time for a quiz. Can you remember the key moments from this game? In the first game, his opponent played knight back to d8, but do you know what move Firouzja now played? In order to improve a certain piece in this position. 5 seconds. Firouzja now played knight h2. Planning to come here, and then later in the game he actually went to d5. Knight e6 was played, but then g3, and then the knight actually came round very soon to the beautiful central square. Next key moment in the first game. Black has just played bishop back to d8. How did Firouzja go about trapping his opponent's rook? 5 seconds. Queen to e2, because then the queen went to c4 and the rook was trapped. Here we go, game number 2. This is a key moment. Queen b3 has just been played to attack the bishop, and if you move the bishop, you take. That's fine, giving white a little bit of play, but what did Firouzja play here instead? 5 seconds. He played knight c5, because after take, you now take with the rook, and the 2 bishops are all 4. Game number 3, another key moment. Black has just got space with b5. What did Firouzja do now to put pressure on the knight on f4? 5 seconds. He played queen f3, and then I was mentioning knight here, and then the knight can come in, take, take. We might have got this kind of position. And final moment in game 3, black has just moved the king to f8. How did Firouzja continue? He attacked the knight, and the guy took it, and then every single move was an attack. After this, attack the knight, attack the knight, attack the pawn. attacked the pawn from the side, and then the king came in, and then even you just attack the pawn, and then we come in, and then we see the problem with the knight. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, because it really does help me out. Here's YouTube's choice for what to watch next. However, if you don't like their recommendation, you might like my selection. Thank you so much for watching.